Now, in today's video, I'm going to show you one method for setting up the Maschine Plus with an external synth. In this video, we are using the OG Meeblip SE from Create Digital Music. And after we run through the setup, we'll make a quick beat. Alright, so the first thing we're going to need is some way of getting MIDI information from the machine to the Meeblip. And in this case, we'll be using a 5-pin MIDI DIN cable, which simply goes from our MIDI out on the machine into the MIDI in of our synthesizer. Next thing we're going to need is some way of getting sound from the synth into the machine. In this case, we'll be using just a simple guitar lead, which will run from the audio out of our synthesizer to our line in 1 on the machine. Right, now that we've got the basic hardware set up, we need to adjust some of the preferences in the machine to get these things talking to each other properly. Now, the way I'm going to set this up is I'm going to have one pad, one sound in machine, sending MIDI data to the Meeblip. I'm then going to use a second pad as the audio input. Right, the first thing you're going to want to do is head to Settings and head over to our MIDI page. Now, I think by default, both the input devices and output devices will be set to disabled. Now, as we're sending MIDI out of the machine, we're going to need to turn on the output devices to enabled. The next thing you're going to need to do is hit the channel button. Make sure you have sound selected and you are on the output page. Then you'll need to navigate over to MIDI. And we'll have to set our MIDI destination to Maschine Plus MIDI 1. Now, depending on what synthesizer you're using, you may need to adjust which channel you are sending MIDI through, but for the Meeblip, channel 1 is fine. We can actually see that the Meeblip is receiving MIDI data by this light. See, it turns off when I send the MIDI to it. Okay, now, we're sending MIDI out, but we need to receive audio back. So you can do this all on the one pad, but I would prefer to do it on a separate pad. So we select that pad. We're still in our channel settings, on sound, and we need to head to input. Now I'm using a mono line in, so all I need to do is select in 1 left. Adjust the gain on that. And then we have it, we're all set up. Now you may need to adjust the levels on either your synth or the inputs on the Maschine Plus, but we seem to be getting a pretty good signal there. And it's as simple as that. The next thing I'm going to do is make a little beat and show you how I record the audio from the synth into Maschine Plus. So let's see what we can come up with. Let's load a different patch here. Now this is a mono synth, so no chords, but we can play arpeggios. That's an interesting pattern, so let's record that in. Alright, so as you can see, we've got this pattern recorded here, but it is only MIDI. To record this as audio, what I'm going to do is head to pad mode, select our input pad, go over to sampling. For our source, we need external mono, input 1 left, tab over, we want sync, and we need to set the bar length to the same length as our pattern, which I believe is 1 bar. 1 bar, so we just set 1 bar on our recording length. Now all we need to do is hit start and play. Now we've got that pattern recorded as audio inside of Maschine Plus. So let's mute pad 1 so that we're no longer sending MIDI to the synth. Get out of sampling, and if we hit Shift Browse, we can change this device from a sampler to an audio module. Now the audio that we just recorded will be looped, and it will also stick to the tempo of our project. So our original tempo is 107, but if we slow it down, we can see that it's still a perfect loop. Alright, I do like the sound of this, but I am going to add some effects to enhance it. Let's first add a filter. Let's add some lo-fi. Let's add ROM, the reverb plugin. Alright, I think I'm going to pitch this up an octave. And then finally, let's add a second filter. That sounded pretty cool to me. Alright, now let's see what else we can add to this beat. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up a new group and repeat that whole setup process, so that I'm sending MIDI out on pad 1 and receiving it back on pad 5. First problem we're going to run into is that pad 5 and group 1 is already receiving audio, so we need to go back in and turn that off. Again, we hit our channel button, make sure we're in sound, and as our audio input, we just select none. Now we repeat the setup that we did in group A into group B. Alright, so I've set up the Meeblip to create this sound. And like I said before, this is a mono synth, so I can't use it to play chords. But what I can do is record in a single note and use Maschine Plus to then sequence chords. So to do that, I'm just going to record in a pattern of that single note and then use the same recording process as we did with group 1. And we go over to pad 5, go to sampling. Our pattern length is again just the 1 bar, so we can leave that there. Just hit start and play. And there we have our newly recorded sound. We now have turned our monophonic synthesizer into a polyphonic synthesizer. We can erase that pattern as we're no longer using it. Alright, now before we record in a new pattern, let's again edit this sound a little. Alright, that sounds pretty good to me, so let's record it in. Alright, I think I'm going to finish this off in Maschine, so let's add some drums and a bass. And there you have it. Now I was hoping to just make this a quick video, so before things get out of hand, I'm going to say goodbye there. Please like, comment, subscribe. I'm going to put some cuts down on this, and I will see you guys next time.